science at that time. Its legal name was the Science of Mind Church of Religious Science of Whittier. I tried to put that on my business card. And I go to get my name on there. And so we decided that we needed to shorten the name and keep the spirit of it. Because there's been a spirit that's alive here in this spiritual community since Lady Rena Smith had the idea to meet in her living room and begin something here in Whittier. So we ended up into a process, because while I'm looking around the room, there were a few of you here, but most of the people who were here at that time were really, had been here a very, very long time. And they were very, very attached to the name. They didn't like it, but they were attached to it. You got that? Ever had something in your life like that? Gee, I wish this would change, but oh, don't change. Don't do what it takes to make it change. And so I know Janet was in on that process. We said, and probably after too, we said, maybe others in the room, we said, all right, we need everybody on board. What are we going to do? And we first of all, we put something in the program. Write down the name you'd like us to be. And then we went over to Harmony Hall and we spread big papers out on the table. And we had everybody write whatever name they wanted it to be. And then we put them all together. And we hung them on the wall in Harmony Hall. And we said, okay, you get to vote for 3 of these, whatever 3 you want. Well, we had a little boy who was here at that time. And I don't know, I think I saw his grandmother come in, but oh, there she is back there, Irene. Isaiah decided he was going to campaign for the name he wanted. I think he was maybe 10 at that time. And I see his mom too. You guys mean so much to me. I just can't tell you what this is like. It's like a love bath up here. You get that every Sunday, don't you? Just like a love bath up here. So Isaiah is taking his little self around Harmony Hall and saying, give me your stickers, I'll put them up. And I don't know what name it was, but it ended up with this whole long line of stickers on it. But the one thing I wanted to tell you is someone had brought a friend with her the day we had everybody writing the names, and he wrote down the Church of the Third Eye. And he said to her, she says they're going to put up every name, but they're not going to put that one up. And she brought him back the day we put up the signs, and he was dumbfounded because the Church of the Third Eye was up on the board. We meant it when we said every voice counted. And that's what we carried through the whole process. Every voice counted. There was one vote for that one. It was him. I guess. Through that whole process, the people rallied round and they began to change. And they began to allow that change to not only be in the name of this center, but to be in their hearts. And we began to change as a community. And we began to have the deepest love and the biggest vision. And people stepped up and they made it happen. They made it happen. And that's when we entered into the usefulness of our life. I had a student once who was came through the School of Ministry, and she had this big, big vision for her ministry. I mean, it was huge. She was agape-wise. She was going to do what Michael Beckwith was beginning to do at that point. And she ended up running the children's ministry at Agape. And what she said to me a few years after that, and if you don't know what agape is, just ask somebody in the room, somebody's going to know. she ended up running a wonderful children's program. And she said, when I graduated from the School of Ministry, I thought I would do larger things. Instead, I found that I'm doing greater things.
All right.
That's the way we can look at our lives. Instead of the idea that we have to do larger things to create a world that works for everyone, let's do greater things. Greater things in our own life. Greater things to make our life work. Greater things to shine our light, and no matter what conditions we find ourselves. I remember Bill Carlson sitting up here in the front row with my husband Mac. And when Bill took, at that time we called it Science of Mind 1, or maybe we were calling it Foundational class by then. And you know, he's partially sighted. And what he did was a project in that class. And what he did was paint a picture. He found within himself the ability to transcend what other people would say would be impossible and to become an artist. And one of my favorite stories in my ministry here involves Bill. It's when he married his wife Lynn. And they were standing up here on the platform and I was doing the wedding. And were you here at that wedding? Lynn had the most beautiful bouquet of flowers that they had picked from their yard. And they were just radiant because they had each other. And her daughters thrilled that Lynn had found Bill, and I thought, oh, how sweet this is. She's patting her mother's back through the whole ceremony, just patting her mother. And afterwards we found out that the flowers from the garden came with ants. One of my favorite wedding stories of all time. Last night, Dr. John Waterhouse talked about the history of this center and the fact that right here, not on this platform, people will say on this platform, but it was not on this platform because we took that platform out and put this one in. It was the platform, let's see, we had a big box over here. Big box, this is where the piano was, facing this way. So Dennis, you would have been facing that way. Real easy to interact with the ministry. And over here was another great big box with an organ in it. A huge, beautiful Wurlitzer organ. And when we decided to change, guess what the people were attached to? The organ that nobody could play. Because the organist who was brilliant on it, and actually I think probably was purchased for him, he'd been here for many years, he was gone. And nobody who came in could play that. Dennis, it had 4 tiers of keys. It was beautiful. But it was change we were asking for. And we had to really work to make that change. In our personal lives, we may have to really work to make the change we want. We may have to really put time and attention into our vision of what is possible for us. And then we have to let go and let God. Let go and let the Spirit move. When I left here, I said, I will never be a pulpit minister again. I will never serve as a senior minister. I had a whole career ahead of me. I was doing nonprofit